Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of As the Walker Turns. And I am here today with my much older brother, Eric.
Much better looking.
Okay. And we're here today to talk about mom and kind of Eric's journey. And for those that have watched before our episode with Logan, this is Logan's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm Eric Russell.
Hi.
I am the middle child, but I'm the oldest son. So I feel like a lot of the responsibilities, even though she feels like she had those, they really went on me.
Wow.
I was the eldest son.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just saying.
We're going to get into gender wars right now. We haven't even started this. Okay. So back to talking about mom, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought today we could talk a little bit about our journey to get mom where she is today. Yeah. We had an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with mom. This is a holiday weekend, so we get a lot of mom time, which has been really great. So Eric, I know you know that I've been in the business a hot second, like 20 years, but so you've kind of learned about senior living through my stories.
From the purview.
Right.
From the outside and the stories.
And then
which you have some really funny stories. There's some great ones, whether it be like your holiday parties or people found in the copy room or...
Okay, we haven't gotten into those stories.
I'm just saying the old people finding themselves in peculiar places.
Yes, that has all happened, yes.
Okay.
But you took it upon yourself to go tour some communities on your own.
Yeah, I did.
How'd that go?
So I didn't want to, first off, I was completely against the idea of putting mom in there. I was, at least in my opinion, I was under the impression that I would like to have my mom either at her house or at my house or at a sibling's, whatever the case is. I didn't want to put her in a home. I feel like my perception of putting somebody in a home is you're putting them away, that you don't want to handle that burden. You don't want to do whatever it is that you are supposed to do in helping and taking care of them. So I didn't want to go to her. I didn't want to listen to you. I didn't want to listen to other people. I didn't want mom to go into a home.
Right, because you thought it was a place she was going to die.
Yeah, you're putting them away.
Right.
You're shirking your responsibilities as a child or as a family member or whatever.
So what, in your opinion, changed? Why did we decide we needed a different path for mom?
It's hard because mom's decline went so fast. I mean, we went from mom forgetting the occasional thing here or there, or, whatever the case is, but we were all up there for summer. We always spend Julys up at the ranch. Everybody's together.
In Montana.
In Montana.
Right.
And it's just, that's what we do, is we go spend the summer in Montana with everybody. And things were pretty good. Mom was definitely forgetting some stuff and getting a little overwhelmed sometimes anxiety-wise. But I think we've always chalked that up to our father passed away. Mom's dealing with a lot of stuff. There's a lot on her plate, whether it be with taking care of the ranch or her Airbnbs or whatever the case is, and she just gets forgetful. But after I had left come August, and then my Uncle Chip left in October, it was like a nosedive. It was right off the side of a cliff that mom held up. And these things that you look back on, now I realize it was probably sundowners. She really did have more of an advanced case of Alzheimer's than we could have ever expected. And she starts having these major breakdowns, and she's getting lost, and she got in an accident in a car, and just everything is like, oh my gosh, I think we've let it go too far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we find out, taxes hadn't been filed, or
taxes,
just mail not opened for months on end, and
nothing.
Yeah, it was
bills not paid, all sorts of little things that if it got hard, she just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, just completely avoided it. Just shut down. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as we've mentioned, there's maybe in previous podcasts, I'm the oldest of 5, so you're 3 and 5. How has that, your opinion, been? Obviously, I've been team a community for mom since day one.
Yeah.
You were on the complete opposite side of never going to happen.
No.
What about, how did that work with the other 3 siblings?
We have very interesting dynamics with our siblings. Everybody's very different.
A different podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we could start a new podcast. If you're ever wondering, dysfunctional in-laws or something, we've got you on stories in spades.
Yeah.
So everybody's got some people are more reserved. Some people are very vocal. Everybody's got their own opinions. But ultimately, it came down to my Uncle Chip, who was a power of attorney for mom, and then Mandy, who's got the experience, and me on the side. So I think between the 3 of us, ultimately making her health decisions, found a good balance, and it was a lot of hard conversations before we decided to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and how did that work with mom? Because mom also was part of this decision. We didn't make this.
Oh, yeah, no.
This was not we didn't dictate
It
this
was
choice.
months. So mom, before
Mhm.
even, she came and lived with us for 4 or 5 months.
Mhm.
Mom came and lived in here. And honestly, in having your mom come in here and seeing her decline, and just, she would sit at this table right here, and I would be working for 6 hours, and she would sit and just stare. She would just stare at me. It was like a puppy dog that would follow you around. And it's hard to see your mom, who's taken care of you for so long and done so much. And you worked with mom professionally for a number of years. I worked with mom professionally for years and years, almost my whole life, in different companies.
Mhm.
I've been with them all the time. And now to see, like, oh, the tables literally have turned. Literally. And
Yeah.
so now I'm having to do all these things. And then it's emotionally exhausting that somebody gets frustrated with themselves, that they can't do that. And so you're trying to calm them down emotionally while still dealing with your own struggles of, I'm having to now care for.
Was there, what were like the feelings? Was it guilt? Was it like anger? What was it?
I didn't have a lot of anger. I felt a lot of, yeah, I would say guilt. Like, I don't want you to have to do these home things. Like, I want to keep you here, but I can't handle it. Like, I'm now at a breaking point. Like, I have children. I have 4 children. I have a wife. I have a job. I have church, and I have civic responsibilities in what I do in the community. And now I'm taking care of this person, and it is a full-time job.
Yep.
It's a full-time job. And that was really hard. There was guilt, and even thinking in the aspect of putting her into an assisted living home.
So when the decision was finally made, which included mom, right at the end of the day.
We had her even after she stayed at our place for 4 months, and we let her look at places here. Then when she went back up to Montana, because we wanted her to go up and experience up there a little bit more, as much as she could, we had her tour, and she toured places herself.
Yeah, we didn't even know. She's like, oh yeah, I went and saw all the communities up here. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because we had actually had a private caregiver for her for months.
Yeah, we were paying a lot of money to have a caregiver there for 4 hours a day.
3 days a week, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Just to kind of learn doctor's appointments, take her to the grocery store, just like to have really, she just needed a companion. Someone who could take a walk with her.
And she called it that. And
yeah,
actually, mom felt like we hired a babysitter for her.
Yeah.
And at first it was a hard transition for her. She didn't like it. She kept saying, like, why do you have a nanny? Why do you have a babysitter for me?
Right.
And so that's just a hard conversation with your mom. Like, no, she just needs to be there to help you here, to be there and to talk with you. And honestly, the assisted living lady or the caregiver or whatever would sit and talk for those 3 hours. She would talk for 2.5 hours just sitting on a couch chatting with mom.
Yeah, which is what you need. Mom's super social.
Very social.
Okay. So mom did tours. She did tours here in where she is now, and then up in Montana.
Yeah.
And we narrowed it down to 2, I believe, at the end, right?
You had a whole spreadsheet. You sent me a spreadsheet that had all of the communities. These are the ones you're allowed to tour. This is what you're not allowed to tour.
Maybe.
These are what she literally had this whole Google Doc that's set up and like pros, cons, that. And so I lost the spreadsheet. I'm not going to lie. I didn't. And you kept saying, did you refer to it? I'm like, yeah, I definitely. Anyways, so I just start going to.
Wow. You just started Googling places?
I did. I went on Google Maps and did retirement. So then that's why I ended up at the first one.
Right. How'd that go?
It was terrible. It
didn't make the list. It was not on the spreadsheet.
It was not on the spreadsheet. It was probably the one do not go.
Exactly.
So I show up and I go in and they're under renovation, and I don't fault them at all for the renovations. But you just see the people there, their countenance, and it didn't feel lively. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Like certain communities you walk in and you feel a certain air with the employees, and the front desk, I think, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Is it a welcoming front desk person like, hey, what are you doing? What can I do? And that one I got like,
what are you doing here?
What do you need? I was like, I would like a tour. Oh, okay. Well, let me see if a salesperson's available. Okay, I can wait.
I'm ready to give you some money.
Yeah,
you want to take my money?
They have no idea that I'm a real potential customer for them.
Right.
So I wait, and then finally somebody comes around and we do the tour. And I ended up being the executive director by the end of it that took me around. So we're looking at the rooms, and they're telling me that most of them are doubles, and they're showing me the dining hall, and it looks kind of dingy, and the place needed a remodel. Like all the places it wasn't done, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, whatever. I said, show me memory care. I want to see the eventuality of if I want mom safe here, then I want to take her to the memory care at the same place so it can have a nice cohesive transfer.
Right.
So they take me back to memory care, which is on the opposite side of the whole place. And we go in and she does the little badge and we go in it and it was dark.
Really?
Like you walk into like the main first area and it just felt dark. Like lighting was like low and all this stuff and it was kind of quiet or whatever. So you go through and then they badge you into the next thing and it almost felt medical. Not homey, it felt medical. And you open up these doors and we walk in and it was the smallest little area for the gathering. There was a one little couch, there was a table and a small TV and the TV wasn't on or anything and people were just kind of crawling by and then...
Crawling?
Not crawling. Well, that was later. That's probably why it was in my mind.
Okay, all right.
So, and then all of a sudden, after we were talking, she's explaining everything there, which was fine. And then I hear this like alarm, this buzzing in the background. And my hearing's not great to begin with. No. But I'm hearing this buzzing. And I'm like, what is that? She goes, oh, it's an alarm. I said, oh, okay. Like, what does that mean? And so she's looking around and all of a sudden it looks like smoke coming out of one of the rooms. And I'm like, what is going on? So she's yelling for one of the workers and an attendant comes down and it's at a particular door. And so she opens up the door. And as she opens up the door, and mind you, I'm down the hall just a little bit, I just see this outstretched hand of a guy that looked like he's crawling. And he like reached his hand out. He's like, oh, and I'm like, what? So there's smoke, there's an alarm. They open it up and I see a man's hand come out. And she's like, oh, sir. And they had the guy rush in and they start helping him. Then she walks back to me to rush me out and she goes, that probably wasn't a great first impression. I said, it probably wasn't.
Was he okay?
I don't know. I didn't read the obituary the next day. So honestly, after that was my first experience of going into a tour. And I'm like, we're done. We're done. Not happening. Mom is not going to a home.
Refer back to the list that I sent you.
Which I didn't have. And I did go to another one that same day right down the road. And it was just like, fine. It just didn't feel welcoming or anything. Like it just felt like a business. It didn't feel like a home.
What was important to you as far as finding the right place for mom? Like what were your top 3 things that like, I'm not negotiating on these things?
It had to be clean.
Yeah.
It had to have amazing employees that are going to love my mom like I love her. And mind you, I go a lot. Compared to the other people there, I'm at my mom's community 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
I'm there constantly. But I want people there that care for her when I'm not there. And not just a business. Right. Like I'm doing this for my hourly wage. Like I care about this person. Right. I want to hear their stories.
Right.
Cleanliness, employees, and I guess safe. I don't know if that's fair.
Sure.
I wanted to feel safe. So their technology that they had there made me feel like, hey, they know exactly where she is because they've got GPS watches on all the residents. And they know exactly like her pills, like they know where she is to make sure she got the pills at the appropriate time. And that if she left the building, it would notify them and all that stuff. I wanted it to feel safe.
Okay. So cleanliness, caring, and safety. Those were your non-negotiables. Okay. So when we finally found the community, took a while.
Oh yeah, we looked at lots of places.
Was it on my list?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was it number 1 on my list?
It was right up at the top.
Yeah, anyway, okay.
Which is fascinating because even the cheap, smoke-filled, crawling out hand things, price-wise, was very comparable to the one that we ended up with.
I know, which is like...
And the other one was insurance, and the one we ended up doing was private pay.
Yes, I think the one that you saw was like government subsidized, like Medicaid kind of thing.
But what they're charging Medicaid is the same as what mom's paying private.
Right. So when you walked into the community mom ended up moving into, did you feel like, okay, this isn't going to be so bad?
Immediate, the colors, the feeling, I felt like I was walking into a hotel. I felt like I was walking into a nice hotel.
Okay.
Like it was open and the receptionist immediately like, hey, how's it going? And then the sales guy runs out and shakes our hand. And when the sales guy comes out, I don't know what you guys call your sales guys.
Like marketing directors or whatever. Yeah.
When he came out, almost every resident there was like, oh, Michael, like they were super excited to see him and he's giving hugs and high fives and they're talking about his haircut and like, you know what I mean? Like all the residents loved him and I saw it put mom at ease immediately that this was a safe guy.
Oh, so safety was important. So you felt that he was a safe person to talk to for mom, or would
Yeah.
take care of mom.
Yeah, that he was not there just to book a room, but
Oh,
he was there to help her
okay.
in transitioning.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, to make sure that it was the right
yeah.
thing for her.
Okay.
If she was at a point that she even needed it,
Uh-huh.
or what she needed when she was there.
Okay. So I would say, looking back on it, it probably took us, I don't know, maybe a year and a half before we finally decided to like, it's a go. We're putting money down.
Oh yeah.
At least.
Because you kept pressuring to put the deposit down. You pressured for months, and I kept delaying and avoiding text and avoiding whatever because I did not want to put the deposit. And sure enough, when we finally said yes, they're like, "Oh, actually, it's going to be a several-month wait."
Yeah.
Because I did not realize that there was these waits that you had to do in getting in there.
So what you're saying is sometimes I'm right.
Whatever.
Okay. Anyway, whatever. We'll move on. Okay. So we get to, because she moved into the community in September. So it's been a few months. Talk to me about what it was like to move mom, pack her, condense everything into literally 6 suitcases. That's what she left with. 6 suitcases.
It was. You did a lot of the prep work before I even got there too. You went through the house. Mm-hmm. You did a lot of the prep work. You had giant piles here, there, and then we had the suitcases out, and it was a donate, give to a sibling, going in the suitcase.
Yeah.
And mom would want something, and then you'd put it over there, and then it would go back over here, and the piles were ever evolving into what ended up. And honestly, what ended up in the 6 suitcases was kind of hilarious.
It was. I just finally gave up. I'm like, I don't care if you want to pack your rocks, whatever.
Literally, the rocks got packed in the suitcases.
I know they did. At some point, you just like, it's rocks.
It's interesting because certain things were triggers, and it seemed like some of the older stuff meant a lot more to her, even though it was like a cheap old doily that meant nothing.
Yeah.
But she had a memory associated with it, which was more important than a new expensive thing that she had, which meant nothing.
Yeah, like she really, at the beginning, really wanted to take her Bosch mixer, which she loves, right? And I'm like, I don't think she's going to be baking bread in her apartment because there's no oven. Anyway, there's no oven. It was a journey to get mom packed. I mean, you're talking about a house they've been in for a long time. This is a large piece of property. And so I think the smarter things that we did is that when you were up there this summer, mom was having a great day. And so we decided to have mom walk us around the entire house, the property, the barns, the shop, all the places. And we let her talk about what these things were and what she wanted done with them, which was, I mean, I was surprised by some of the stuff, honestly.
Some of the stuff, I did not know what she was going to say. And we weren't leading at all or trying to do it. No. It's like, you literally pointed to this picture. What do you want with this picture? Right. And she's like, oh, I don't care about that. You can do that. Or, oh, I want that to go to this person. Or, oh, no, I want to keep that with me. Yeah. And you were just very free and walking around the whole, literally, I think that was a great idea.
I think it took us a couple hours to really.
Long time.
It was long. We got it all on video. And I think it also helped for the siblings. Not that, I mean, they can see it anytime they want, but I think it's going to be helpful, when mom eventually passes away, for us to go back and memorialize, like, okay, what were we doing with the butter churner? I don't remember. Does anyone remember? But one of the things that I had learned several months ago from actually Matt Paxton, he's the host of that show Hoarders. He came and spoke at our community. And he said it's for people that like to hold on to things, it's really empowering for them to be able to tell the story.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're more likely to let it go. Because like mom and I, at one point, we came at a big time impasse. I had to leave the house because she was going to pack like 40 pairs of socks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were going to die on that hill.
Mom was going to die. She wanted those socks. And you were so upset that you didn't want her to bring that amount of socks.
Well, I was just trying to save space for the stuff that I knew she wanted.
I know your practical mind wanted that, but for some reason she wanted that.
I know. So anyway, it was helpful for us to be able to understand the story. Some of the things she couldn't remember, but some of the things she did, was able to tell us, and it's helpful for us because I didn't know where some of that stuff had come from and what it meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was good. And that's a good tip for you guys too. If there's anything that, is going to be maybe controversial, like a family heirloom, like we have this bear rug anyway.
It's a funny story.
It is a funny story for another day. But anyway, his name is Hambone. And it's like, what are we doing with Hambone? And she made the decision it stays at the house. And I was like, that is the best decision ever. Because I don't want Hambone at my house. Yeah, and you didn't want it. And then I could see the grandkids were like, we want ham bone. I'm like, oh no, we're not moving the bear. Anyway, so that was a good tip.